All right, guys, so before we do some examples for our first worksheet, there's 2 pages in your packet that you picked up. In each of those 2 pages, you'll cut into 2, and so it'll be 4 pages in your interactive student notebook. So it's this page here, and there's the back of it, and then there's this page here. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and take a minute. I want you to cut those out. You're going to cut along this slit on both lines to where you'll put these on 4 different pages in your interactive student notebook. Go ahead and do that now because we'll refer back to them as we're doing examples from here on out. But when we do examples from this worksheet number 1, we'll refer back to them. So go ahead, take a minute, cut them, and then paste them in your interactive student notebook. All right, let's do a couple examples now from our first worksheet, and then I'll let you have the rest of the hour or the class period to kind of work these out. So if you're given that 2 segments are congruent, okay, what would your next step be? What can you conclude just by seeing this? All right, well, let's go back to the 4 pages you just pasted in your interactive student notebook. So notice right here, right? You guys see that right here? It says AB is equal to CD if and only if AB is congruent to CD. That's the definition of congruent. And because we have an if and only if statement, remember that's a biconditional, we can write it backwards. So we can say if they are congruent, then they have to be equal. Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to write here. If they're congruent, that means that TO equals AN, and if we go back to it, that's just the definition of congruence. So we would write definition of congruence here. All right, let's look at number 2. It says E is the midpoint of BD. Okay, well, some of you guys would benefit by drawing this out. It's not a very straight line. BD and E is the midpoint. Okay, well, that's what it looks like. So if we know E is the midpoint, what can we conclude next? What does this help us figure out? All right, so once again, we're going to go back to those 4 things we just looked at. And where's something about midpoint? Oh, right here, definition of midpoint. Okay, it says a point is a midpoint if and only if it divides a segment into 2 congruent segments. So M is the midpoint of AB if and only if AM equals or is congruent to MB. So let's go back here. So we know that E is the midpoint. That means BE has to be congruent to ED. Okay, and that is by the definition of midpoint. Okay, let's look at the 3rd example, but notice it's number 10 on your sheet there, so don't think it's number 3. It's number 10, so jump down to number 10. And all it does is it gives me this picture of an angle. Okay, so what can we conclude with just a picture? Okay, well, let's go back to our sheet. And let's look at this right here. Okay, remember the angle addition postulate from chapter 1. It says if P is in the interior of angle RST, then this angle here plus this angle here is equal to the whole entire angle. So we can apply that same thing to this diagram. We can say that this angle here plus this angle here is equal to this entire angle. Okay, so I could say angle FED plus angle DEG equals angle FEG. Okay, and just for what that one sheet said, that is the angle addition postulate. Okay, now I want you to work with your other classmates. I want you to go through here, it's front and back. Do the best you can. Make sure you ask questions. If you and your classmates don't know, make sure you ask me. It's very, very important that we understand this, okay? These are 1 steps. We're going to be doing figures with multiple steps. So if we can't do 1 step, we're not going to be able to do multiple steps. So I really want to make sure you understand this. Also, I will post a key, not for you to go and cheat off of, because that will not help you pass a test. But so you can check your answers, and if you get something different than me, you can ask, things of that nature. All right, so with some classmates, I want you guys to go through and do this together.